Good morning. Good morning. Well, I should say good afternoon because it's the afternoon already. But it's another day in the bull market, folks. I got a lot of news to share with you all. We're going to take a look at the charts, the on-chain data, and the macro to get an idea of where we're at, what's to come next. So, folks, on your way in, hit that thumbs up button, hit the heart button, hit the like button. Jan De Jong, welcome in from Croatia. Great to have you. Ghost on the Shore, great to have you as well. Michael Carter, thank you for tuning in. Michael says, what's good, Tony? Enjoy your live streams whenever you go live. H-bar to the moon. Yeah, well, I'm an H-bar holder, so I agree with you. H-bar to the moon for sure. Lots to talk about as it relates to altcoins, by the way. We got some news from the Nasdaq. We got some Chainlink news and much more. But of course, I know all of you want to know what happens next for the market. And we're seeing some good price action for Bitcoin, but we want to take a look at if this is a fake out or it is a legit move to the upside. Etron, great to see you. Sam Brunt, great to have you. G from UK, looks like you're an H-bar fan. Great to have you. XRP Diesel from Scotland, welcome in. Great to see all of you. Thank you for tuning in. Guys, on the way in, hit that thumbs up button, hit the heart button, the like button, wherever you're watching and listening. Subscribe if you haven't as yet. Ranter2887 says, remember the NFL intro you had from 2020? It was hilarious. Yeah. I have to try to find that, Ranter. I haven't used that in years, but that was great. Fun times in the bull market, right? I would say 2020 after March, despite what we were living through in, as far as the pandemic, the markets were ripping. It was a fun time. And then obviously the market went into 2021. The bull market continued. So we are in a bull market, folks, and that's not emotion. That's not a gut feeling. That is based on the data, the on-chain data, the charts, and the macro as well. Kenny Doe, good to see you. Kenny with XRP from Sarasota, Florida. Great to have you, Kenny. Let me adjust my screen here. I had to start the stream a bit late today. Had a repairman out to the house doing some stuff on my plumbing and even AC, just some maintenance, but also fixing some things. So sorry that I'm a bit late. I usually kick these off around 11 a.m., 11:15 a.m. MPHZDEZ. Love the channel and all the insights you provided. Thank you, man. I appreciate that. Thank you for joining. Great to have you. All right, folks. Let's give another minute for folks to come in, and then we will kick it off and talk about what is happening. Chris Valerio says, I predict Bitcoin 108 today. Yeah, Bitcoin over 108,000 at the time of us doing this stream, and looking good, but we want to see more validation here because this could be a fake out. We've seen the market fake us out before. Now, this is just in the micro. In the macro, I think we're definitely headed to higher highs. But of course, we need Bitcoin to do its thing so that the altcoins can follow. I don't make the rules. That's just how the market works, how the market makers and the whales operate in this market. Jonathan, great to have you. Good afternoon. David R. Morla, great to have you. Okay. All right. I think we got a good amount of people in here. We can kick it off. We're streaming on multiple platforms. Let me make sure that I'm live on Instagram here because we're on YouTube, X, Twitch, Kick.com, Rumble, Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram as well. So trying to get the message out there, folks. Okay. All right, guys. So as of this morning, Bitcoin crossed $108,000. That's a very good sign. You look at the daily chart, you're seeing some green candles and what appears to be a small V-shaped recovery. However, we've seen the market fake us out before, so we want to give this more time to prove itself. Let the rally prove itself. Now, the RSI and the daily did not go to the oversold zone. It just landed right above it, around 40. So that's okay. It can do that and then go back up to the overbought zone, which would probably take us to, 125 to 130-ish or possibly higher. But you can see Bitcoin was overbought when it started that correction. And regardless of the narrative, tariffs, Elon, Trump, whatever, it was due for that pullback because it was in the overbought zone and it's usually overheated. We've seen this historically. Pattern recognition will tell you this. You go look at what happened in Q4, right? The RSI in the overbought zone started correcting. Then it went to the oversold zone, then started its uptrend again, then hit the overbought zone, started its correction again. It's just cyclical, right? The markets are cyclical, folks. And let me make myself smaller here so you guys can see the chart clearly. So on the daily, we're still looking very good. We're seeing some green candles here. Bitcoin could still fake us out and go down and test 98K. I'm not saying I want that to happen. I'm just saying you can't rule that possibility out. You have to be open to different scenarios because we don't have a crystal ball. But we can use the data and say, okay, this is where we see things going. And even in the short term, if there's more volatility or bearish downside, there's still room for upside from the macro. So the RSI, obviously, once again, didn't bounce from the oversold zone. So that's a good sign, but could go, could easily roll over, go to the oversold, then bounce and give us that true rally to new all-time highs. And as always, the altcoins will follow. So if we look at the weekly chart on a higher time frame, of course, it looks even more bullish because you can see Q4, right? The RSI on the weekly was overheated. It was in the overbought zone. We pull back, we've been rallying, but the weekly did not take us to the overbought zone. So there's still room for this to run up here before maybe having a bigger correction like we saw in Q4. What's interesting is the weekly MACD is still in the green. That's a very good sign, right? The bulls have momentum. We saw that the correction from Q4 gave the bears the momentum, which this is once again cyclical. It's the natural progress. So I would hope to see more solid green candles on the MACD here. So let's see how this plays out. As always, we don't have a crystal ball. There are no guarantees, but let's use the data to see where we're at and the patterns we've seen historically. So this still looks bullish. When you look at the monthly chart, that is still bullish, folks. Look at the green candles, even after the correction from Q4. And you can see the RSI cooled down a bit on the monthly, but it never really got to the blow off top level that we've seen historically. So there's still room for us to get to that blow off top zone where things go to maybe near 100. This is on the monthly now. You see how green these overbought zones are? We never hit that. So you can see there's room for upside here. The MACD on the monthly also in the green. So all of these things show we're still in the bull market. If it were to flip red and we were losing momentum, I would say, guys, pack it up. That's it, right? But it's not there. Now, we just don't want to use this data set alone to validate our thesis. We want to look at multiple data sets. So Bitcoin dominance, it faked us out when it was crashing in early May, and now Bitcoin dominance is starting to rise again. What we're looking for is what we saw in Q4, where Bitcoin rises, hits a new high, and then its dominance starts to crash, and then altcoins rally. I know many of you are altcoin holders, so this is what you want to see. Right now, we're not seeing that. So this tells us that Bitcoin is climbing, its price will climb, it will hit its overbought zone, and then start rolling over, and then altcoins are going to have their day in the sun, right? Every dog has its day in the market. You just have to be patient. So you see how these things are all correlated, right? So if Bitcoin on the RSI starts hitting the overbought zone, then usually its dominance starts to fall because it doesn't have the momentum, it doesn't have the strength to keep going. And this is just market principles. This applies for the stock market and much more. So this is a good sign. Now, if we look at tether dominance, this is speaking to the stablecoin liquidity that goes into Bitcoin and altcoins and sends the prices pumping. So tether dominance was breaking down just like Bitcoin dominance, and that's when Bitcoin hit that new all-time high of $112,000. It stalled out here, right? It started consolidating. Now it's still in a downtrend. You can see it's showing weakness, but it could move sideways for a while before ultimately crashing down to I'm hoping we can get to maybe 3%. That would be awesome because that will be a lot of liquidity surging into Bitcoin and altcoins. That will be your next bullish rally, which could lead to a blow-off top or a local top. That's what we don't know yet, and we have to keep watching. So this is an indication, once again, still in the bull market. This thing has not bottomed yet, and here's the previous rallies. Look at the Q4 rally, right? The tether dominance collapsed significantly. Look at the March 20 or January to March 2024 rally with the Bitcoin ETF launch. Big collapse, right? So notice how all these data points are correlated, even if it's an inverse correlation. You just see all these data sets saying bull market is still here. There's still room for upside. Now, the other thing I like to look at as far as on-chain data, what are the whales doing? The Bitcoin whales specifically. Wallets with 10 or more Bitcoin showed a massive spike last week. Now, there's been a slight pullback, but this is not a downtrend, right? We're looking for trends, and we continue to see an uptrend here, despite the peaks and valleys of volatility. That's normal. You go throughout the history, and whales are doing different things at different levels. But that huge spike last week is a big indication. Many bought the dips as Bitcoin crashed down to 101,000. And once again, Bitcoin could still go down and touch 98K. We just have to wait and see what happens. But the whales, the on-chain data is telling us the whales are still accumulating. So these are the guys that essentially move the market. So very good sign there. And macro metrics like the Bitcoin Pi cycle top indicator are nowhere close to flashing like they flash at the top of previous markets. This is essentially when the 111-day moving average pretty much hits and crosses a little bit with the 350-day moving average. You can see right now, last year with the 2024 or March 2024 local top, it got kind of close, but not close like we've seen with the blow up tops. So multiple data points are telling us bull market's not over, despite the sentiment in the market, despite what people will comment. Oh, it's over. Tony, you brought in the top. See, you're an idiot. You're a fool. But they don't share data. They just share emotions. They're going through the emotional roller coaster. But educated, informed investors do not move by emotions. And you got to learn to master your emotions through these cycles. So these things are telling us bull market's still here. And other signals like even Raoul Pal and the folks at Global Macro Investor showing us, from a time perspective, Bitcoin has not even touched that's phase 2 of the bull market, let alone the blow off top. So that's a good indication. But I think another important signal is global liquidity. We've seen Bitcoin and risk assets in the stock market and much more follow global liquidity. And global liquidity continues to break out. Bitcoin's following, but there's a lag. There's like a 3-month lag. So if liquidity is going up, risk assets are going to follow, folks. So you're seeing on-chain data, chart data, and macro data saying bull market is still here, folks. Once again, I'm not being emotional about this. I'm not saying, hey, I feel, my gut tells me. No, what is the data telling us? So I hope you appreciate that we're not, doing some fly-by-night nonsense here of like, yeah, bull market's here or bull market's over. Well, what is the data? Show me, right? So I'm showing you here what I'm using to form my thesis. So I'm still bullish. I still think there's room for upside, even if there's short-term volatility that we may experience with Bitcoin before the true breakout. And even if you look at the Fibonacci model, right? I've shown this many times. Bitcoin in the past has crossed the 3.618 to indicate its top. It has only hit the 1.618. So let's say devil's advocate argument, right? Oh, it only goes to 2.618. That means we still have room for upside, right? To 150, 160,000. And I don't know if we're going to get up here to 200. I don't know, right? We'll just have to wait and see. And this is why you take profits at the key support levels. So for example, on the next move, Bitcoin, I don't know if it goes to 150K, I'm definitely taking profits. I'll be even taking profits at 130K because I just don't know what the top where it may come in. And I want to make sure I take profits off the table. So I'll be doing that for other coins. So even if you look at XRP, right? If XRP is to move, and I think it will, up to $4.50, $5, taking profits there, keeps going up. Let's say it hits $7, taking profits there, so on and so forth. So I hope you guys understand the methodology here because no one can call the exact top. We can call out top zones. Hey, we think the top might be in this zone. What's the actual number it hits? Who knows, right? That is something you need a crystal ball for. So you want to ladder out, take your profits accordingly. So Bitcoin is what we are looking at right now because it needs to move. It needs to show the strength. And then the liquidity rotates to the altcoins, XRP, Ethereum, Solana, HBAR, and so on and so forth. Folks, hit that thumbs up for higher prices. Hit the thumbs up button, hit the subscribe button, hit the heart button wherever you're watching and listening. We're streaming on multiple platforms. Check out our sponsors. Uphold, great place to buy and sell crypto and stake crypto. They have a lot of great services, folks. And Trezor makes beautiful hardware wallets. They make it easy for you to safely store your crypto. Many of you know I believe in self-custody. I use the Trezor Safe 5. I have been a proponent of self-custody for years. You can use the code ThinkingCrypto, all one word, to get 5% off. So check out Trezor. Also check out Proppy. They are leading the charge with putting real estate on chain. You can buy and sell real estate on Proppy using crypto. Their platform is blockchain powered, of course. They use Coinbase for the escrow service. I'm a pro token holder. I have been since 2018. Also check out VeChain. They're one of our top. They are one of the top enterprise blockchains, L1s out there. They're getting huge adoption from big brands around the world like BMW, PwC, Walmart, China, and much more. They're partnering with Dana White and the UFC. So I'm a VET token holder. I have been for many years. Many of you know I hold this token in my portfolio. I hold it where I get the VThor token as well. So check out VeChain. Link will be in the description. Also sign up for my free email newsletter. Check out my book on Amazon and my course at mycryptocourse.com. So folks, like I said, my thesis based on data, macro, on-chain, and chart analysis, the bull market is still alive despite all the volatility, despite all the FUD. And I know there's a lot of stuff happening in the world, tariffs, Trump and Elon and whatever it is. That doesn't matter. That is just news, right? And it can cause short-term volatility. But the data is showing us bull market is still alive. When these things start to move in the opposite direction, global liquidity going down and much more, I'll be on here saying, guys, it's over. Like, make sure you're taking your profits and let's pack it up and prepare for the bear market. So I'm still seeing a lot of positive signs here. Now look at this. IBIT, BlackRock's Bitcoin ETF, just blew through $70 billion and is now the fastest ETF to ever hit that mark in only 341 days, which is 5x faster than the old record held by the GLD or the gold ETF of 1,691 days. So this is incredible. We are seeing mass adoption. And, the great thing, I've often shared the different principles about this asset class. It is truly global. It trades 24/7, 365 days a year. The assets are hard cap, right? Many of these tokens have a hard cap, and the max supply is often not in the market, only a part of the supply. So you have an amazing supply and demand economics because it's not just for certain markets. It's not just the US market or the Asian markets. It's every market on a hard cap asset. So that's why you're seeing these types of moves and why Paul Tudor Jones said, this is the fastest horse in the race. No other asset class moves like this. And that is why the opportunity is incredible to position yourself, buy the lows, buy the blood on the streets, be patient, control your emotions, and then ride the wave to the top and sell the euphoric blow off top. So we're going to see the other altcoin ETFs have amazing performances as well. Maybe not as big as Bitcoin, but I think they're going to perform better than gold and the other ETFs because of the nature of the markets and the principles I mentioned. Now, speaking of altcoin ETFs, the Nasdaq files the SEC Form 8K confirming proposal to expand crypto benchmark from 5 to 9 digital assets, adding XRP, Solana, Cardano, and XLM, allowing Hashdaq's Nasdaq Crypto Index US ETF to transition to a broader index. The SEC decision deadline is expected on November 2nd, 2025. Folks, you see the appetite rising here for altcoins. It's not just Bitcoin. And look at the names that are in this index. I have these in my portfolio. Obviously, XRP and Solana more so than Cardano and XLM, but they're still in my portfolio, folks. So we're seeing stock exchanges, banks, and big institutional firms filing for spot ETFs and even basket ETFs like this one. And I think the basket ETFs are going to be the ones that are going to perform well in the future, because as we see with the Nasdaq Top 100, the S&P 500, general investors will go with the index because it gives them the broader exposure versus saying, I'm just going to buy the XRP spot ETF. And there will be people who do that, but I'm just saying the average Joe and Jane, that's the direction they're going to go in. So we're seeing just some great news and things that are coming out. And these are signs of bull markets, right? And even just this past week, we had Circle do an IPO. We had Gemini Exchange file an IPO. Who the hell files for an IPO in a bear market? Nobody. Only an idiot would do that. So again, all the signs are there of a bull market despite the volatility. Now, there's some very big news around Chainlink. I hold Chainlink in my portfolio. I'm very bullish on Chainlink. Many of you know that. So Chainlink successfully facilitates Hong Kong and Australia CBDC stablecoin exchange in pilot with Visa, Fidelity, and China AMC. Folks, I hope you see the direction the world is heading in, and that is blockchain. The governments, the economies, and markets will all run on blockchain rails. We're seeing a lot of testing, trial and error. A lot of companies are now investing in this. They're doing their research and development. It's just amazing. Things are moving at a rapid pace. And, this type of news item doesn't make headlines. The majority of public, they don't know what the hell is happening. They're not paying attention. But count yourself lucky if you're here paying attention, educating yourself, and positioning yourself to make money off of this adoption, right? We're riding the S-curve adoption wave here, guys. So, folks, if you're bullish on crypto, hit that thumbs up button. Hit the thumbs up button, hit the heart button, the like button, wherever you're watching and listening. And like I said, check out our sponsors, Uphold, Trezor, Propy, VeChain. Check out my free email newsletter where I include a lot of data and statistics in about the market in these newsletters. It's 100% free. Check out my book on Amazon and my course at mycryptocourse.com. So, folks, also, I just want to let you all know I published an amazing interview with Yatsu, co-founder and chairman of Animoca Brands. Animoca Brands is one of the largest investment firms. They're based out of Hong Kong. They will possibly do an IPO here in the United States. They've got billions of dollars invested in crypto. So check out that interview. We talk about the future of Web3. So, folks, once again, all eyes on Bitcoin and what will happen next. Is this rally a real one or a fake out? And once again, even if it's a fake out, doesn't mean the bull market's over. We're still in the bull market with all the information and data I just shared with you guys. And a simple indication of a bull market, folks, we are still above the 200-day moving average. Simple pattern recognition will tell you this is bull market territory. When you are below that, like we saw in 2022 in a downtrend, that's a bear market. So we've been comfortably sitting above it despite dips below it with these corrections and pullbacks in this bull market. So still got ways to go. The Fibonacci models also show room for upside, right? But this will be the year of the blow off top. Even if it bleeds into 2026, this is the final phase, the fifth wave. Now, I'm talking macro fifth wave, meaning months, right? And some people say, what are you talking about? If you're doing Elliott wave analysis, how is this the fifth wave? You're looking at the short-term time frame fifth wave. I'm talking macro fifth wave. So it's important to understand it and distinguish between the two, micro and macro. Okay, let's see here. G says, good to see Link making moves. Yeah, and I am bullish on Link. So let's look at the Link chart and what the potential price return could be using, Fibonacci. Let's see here. Let's use the Coinbase chart. Let's pull this out a bit here. Oh, I gotta make sure I hit that exact bottom there. Okay. Let's see how Link is looking. So the good sign for Link is that in the Q4 rally, I'm talking 2024, it broke out. It went up to, what is it? The 0.572 or something like that. So that's a very good sign. It shows some strength. It lost some of the value it gained in Q4 naturally because the tariff uncertainty crashed for all markets. So we want to see more strength, but percentage wise, it is not far from its all-time high of 50 something bucks, right? We're not talking like, okay, Link was up at 100 and something dollars and it's all the way down at 14. No, we're talking 50 bucks. That is not far. So I can see Link easily breaking to new all-time highs. Now that's not a guarantee, right? So just understand what I'm saying. But from a percentage standpoint, it doesn't need that much liquidity to break the old all-time high, is what I'm saying. And we've seen some nasty charts for other coins, which, all hope is lost that these coins can ever hit or break their old all-time high. So once Link pushes through 50 bucks, it enters into price discovery. I'm biased. I'm going to say, man, I hope this thing can go to 130 bucks, 120 bucks. That will be amazing. That will make me some really nice returns. Because I bought a lot of Link down in the bear market, man. And it's getting a lot of adoption. I just realized how many other blockchains were using Chainlink's technology, its Oracle price feed data, and much more. So I'm bullish on Chainlink, guys. Oh boy, it looks like we got some spammers in here. Let me see if I can kick them out. This looks like someone from Twitch. Manuel Garcia, great to have you. Says, let's go. Whiskey Trottle says, why did Bitcoin constantly increase, but XRP grows slower than a snail? So Whiskey Throttle, let me see if I can pull up this chart. And the guy at Rect Capital is the one who did a great chart. And if I can pull this up here. Oh boy, what's wrong with my keyboard all of a sudden? Sorry, my keyboard is freaking out for some reason. Okay, let's see. Yeah, it is having problems right now. Come on. Yeah, my keyboard doesn't want to work, guys. Maybe it's my batteries or something, but let's see if I can use my laptop keyboard. Here. I'm going to try to find this image. Here we go. Here we go. Okay. Whiskey Throttle. This is something that you have to keep in the back of your mind. This crypto market is still young, and the way it functions is that we see the majority of liquidity enters Bitcoin. And usually the whales are doing this and market makers. Bitcoin leads the bull market. That's why I've been saying we're watching Bitcoin to see if this rally that we are experiencing right now is a legit one or is it a fake out? If it's a legit, we keep going up. If it's a fake out, we may go down and test 98K or whatever, and then bounce and have the real rally or the real breakout for this rally, right? And then what happens, Bitcoin hits the overbought zone on its RSI, like we've seen in Q4, like we saw recently. Then it loses momentum, and then the rotation of liquidity happens in the market. So this is where the money starts flowing to Ethereum, and then other large caps, and so on and so forth, small caps and so forth. So you can't just say, "Hey, I want XRP to run by itself." Well, yes, I want to have $50 billion in my bank account, but we got to get back to reality and look at the money flow. So this is where you have to understand Bitcoin leads the charge. This is why I share Bitcoin dominance with you guys. And if you caught what I said earlier, we're looking for a breakdown like this, like we saw in Q4. That's when altcoins are going to start taking off. So if you saw what happened in Q4, Bitcoin led the charge, then XRP started moving and other altcoins as well. So at this point, XRP is consolidating. Its chart looks still very bullish. Lots of strength here, right? We crossed the all-time high, of course. And once Bitcoin starts to definitively move up, the rotational liquidity would happen, and then XRP is going to run. again, I don't make the rules. That's just the nature of the market. And you have to control your emotions and your bias and just look at the data and what we're seeing here. So this is how the money flows. Bitcoin, then the top altcoins, then the rest of the market, the broader market. So I hope that answers your question. Jande Jung says, Tony, when do you expect all season to start? So Jang, that depends on what Bitcoin decides to do. So going back to timelines, I do believe there's going to be some sort of local top come June, July. I think the timeline of May, June got pushed back because of the tariff crash. So let's say Bitcoin starts to find some sort of ground by the 15th of June, right? It's bottom, it starts moving up. That could lead us into July, and all coins could start rallying by July, or maybe earlier. That is my honest opinion. I don't have a crystal ball, but based on what we're seeing here and the way global liquidity is moving and Bitcoin following global liquidity, I think late June, July, we're going to see altcoins start to do something. Now, the question is that the final blow off top all season or a local top all season? That is what I'm not sure about. And we're going to have to wait and see how the market moves to then make that determination. I hope that's helpful. Michael Carter says, hey, Tony, H-bar circulating supply increased significantly since the last bull run, and therefore H-bar market cap already broke all-time high from previous cycle. Can H-bar price still break above previous all-time high? Great question. So I'm an H-bar token holder. So just in full transparency, I think so. So, okay, again, no bias, right? I hold the token, but I want to make sure I'm not being biased. Look at where the old all-time high is and look at where this thing rallied in Q4. We're talking percentage gains now, right? The amount of liquidity would need to just break the all-time high. Not a lot. Not a lot. It is very close. And so it's not like, again, H-bar went up to $5 and then it's down here at 17 cents. No, it's all-time high. It's just what, 50 bucks, I'm about to say $50, Freudian slip there, but 50 cents. And I think it can easily break the all-time high, and fingers crossed, I'm hoping it can get to $1.40, $1.50. That would be amazing. But I'm going to start taking profits at your 95 cents, $1 range, right? Because we just don't know how high it's going to get. But I think H-bar can do really well. Showed a lot of strength in that Q4 rally. That is what you want to see. Because if we were having this conversation, guys, let's say in middle of 2024, I would say, man, I need to see strength. It hasn't done anything. But then lo and behold, Q4, boom, massive pump, right? Not far from the all-time high. So it already pulled back. It's already building support levels at a higher support level, right? Higher highs, higher lows. So I expect this to blast off. Now, again, not guaranteed because I don't have a crystal ball, but based on the data now, not my emotions, this looks good. And there's a lot of adoption. There's an H-bar spot ETF in play. So I think a lot of things are looking good. Zed says, do you think Flare will reach 1 billion TVL this year? That's a great question. I'm not sure. I am a Flare token holder. I am bullish. I currently delegate, so I'm earning the passive rewards. And I do plan to take profits on Flare as, it rallies to new highs. When it, let's see, in March of last year, it rallied to, 5 cents. I'm hoping it can go to 10 cents and higher. I'll definitely be taking some profits on that. Hold on. I missed this one. Hold on. Let's see. Nana says, if institutions are buying Bitcoin and don't intend to sell anytime soon, how would liquidity flow into altcoins? And this is why I think this cycle is different. Well, not every institution is buying. I think you're thinking about ETFs. And I do think institutions are going to take profits. We've seen outflows from ETFs. So I think you got to make sure you're nuanced here. You can't just say institutions are going to buy and not intend to sell soon. Some may do that. I agree with you, some, but not all. The name of the game is to make money. And we've seen in these pullbacks, these simple, small pullbacks, what have we seen? Outflows from the ETFs. So people are going to take profits. And I believe there will be a blow up top where people are going to take profits. And I do believe that speculation will hit the altcoins as well. Because hear me out. If that wasn't the case, Nana, right? And people were buying Bitcoin, why did XRP rally in Q4? Why did HBAR rally in Q4? Why did Ethereum just rally? Again, see what I'm saying? So you got to make sure you delineate. And why was Solana rallying all of last year? If institutions are just buying Bitcoin, liquidity will circulate. The whales, right? They continue to accumulate. They're going to take profits. Look, they were taking profits in that tariff crash. Look at that, right? So to your point, some will hold long term, but I think the majority, the name of the game is profit. They want to make money. So just understand that there will be rotational liquidity. Vadim says, are you not concerned USDT will be sanctioned with stablecoin bill on the floor for voting? How will they affect? So Tether, let's be transparent, right? Tether has had issues in the past. I think I've been on record saying I believe they put their books in order. They righted the ship. I interviewed Tether CEO Paolo Ardoino. They have now gotten the endorsement of Cantor Fitzgerald. Howard Lutnick, the founder and CEO, is now working with the Trump administration. I think that's going to bode well for Tether. Tether is now operating a bit more freely in the United States with their CEO now making appearances on TV. I know they are working with people in DC to try to figure out how they're going to align with stablecoin regulations. They've had some hiccups with the MiCA regulations, right? But Vadim, notice that despite the MiCA regulations, Tether didn't lose market share. It's still growing. So Tether is so massive because it's a global stablecoin that even if the United States was to cause some problems, I don't think that's going to hurt it. And I don't think it's going to hurt the price of Bitcoin because you now have buying from ETFs. So that offsets even any potential losses. So I'm not saying Tether is perfect. I'm not saying that if they don't align with the US, they're not going to take a hit. But the problem is they have such a massive lead. They have such a market share. Like Circle's USDC is not, it doesn't even come close to 50% of what Tether has. So I'm not concerned, honestly. We'll have to wait and see how it plays out. But you have ETF buying. Tether is a global stablecoin. You have other people outside the United States who are buying. So even if Tether is not accessible here in the United States, that's not a big deal. The on and off ramps are built here in the United States. So, and then we got to see if the stablecoin bill will even affect it. I don't know. I don't know if they'll get sanctioned because Tether right now, as you saw, the CEO went on live TV the other day and said they're going to have a top 4 accounting firm come in and do an audit. Now, Tether does do their monthly or quarterly attestations. They've gotten an audit done, but it's not by one of the big 4 auditing firms. So they said they're working on the big 4 audit. So again, these are all the facts, right? And we'll see how it plays out. Crypto Chevy says, what's up, Tony? Question, have you heard of Sky? It's ranked number 54 on CMC. Just curious if you know anything about it. I have no idea what Sky is, but let's take a look. There are a lot of altcoins out there, guys. It's not possible to keep up with all of them. And not saying they can't perform, but so Crypto Chevy, is it Skycoin or is it Sky? There's 2 of them showing up here. There's actually 4 with the same ticker symbol, but I'm going to go with the ones that are, number 54. I'm sorry. You said number 54. So this is Maker. Maker has rebranded to Sky. This is interesting. I did not know about that. When did that happen? I don't hold Maker, but I've heard of Maker. This is interesting. So Maker holders can upgrade their MKR to Sky, and Sky can be converted back to MKR. Upgrading is optional. Huh. So this is the governance token of the Sky ecosystem. I don't know much about this, but it's interesting. I didn't realize this whole thing was rebranded. Looking at this chart here, and this is obviously fairly new because of the rebranding. The chart looks decent. We're seeing some strength here, so that's good. But I don't know much about this token, to be honest. Yeah, no problem, Vadem. Man, I am hoping, guys, I am hoping this rally is legit. Even though I'm bullish long-term, bullish macro, right? I'm not like sitting on the hourly 1 minute chart like, oh my God, it must go up. No, I don't do that, obviously. But it would be nice to just have this continue upwards. But, you know, the markets love to play with our emotions. And this is where you got to have that emotional control, because we could easily see, oh yeah, everybody's thinking it's going to go. And then, right, 98K. And then the true rally. Markets love to do stuff like that and wipe out longs and then wipe out shorts. And this is how it is. But you got to accept it. Just accept it. Just embrace it and use it to your advantage. I've often told you guys I do some swing trading, right? So my long-term hold bags aside, I'm not touching that right now. But let's say I take, I don't know, 5K, just as an example, and I buy Bitcoin when it crashed down to 76K. And then I could sell it when it hits 110K and make some return there and keep growing that pot. You know what I mean? That's not leverage. I'm not using leverage. But once you understand the cyclical pattern of the markets, you can do that. So even if it doesn't do what you expect it to do, you're not getting wiped out with leverage. This is why I don't use leverage, folks. So dangerous, right? But with spot, if you're just doing swing trading on spot, okay, it didn't go to the price point I wanted, but that's okay. I'm still holding the asset. I didn't lose the asset, and I can put it to my long-term hold, a basket, or I could just leave it and wait a bit more. And then when the market finally recovers, then sell it again. So these are ways you can make money in the market, guys, but you got to understand the cyclical patterns and how the charts work, right? And you don't have to be a Wall Street analyst. You don't have to be, an expert. Just know enough to be dangerous. That's the key. Yeah, no problem, Crypto Chevy. Yeah, so the Genius bill is moving forward. I have to get some confirmation because there's different levels before it actually goes to the floor for full voting. But I know there's been, markups. It has to be marked up and all these things, right? So I think it's going to happen. I think there's a geopolitical aspect to this because of the US dollar being the world reserve currency. So this is why you're seeing Congress and all these folks are bullish about it, right? Because it is going to help the United States overall. And as Senator Haggerty quoted Citibank just a couple of weeks ago on TV on CNBC, he said, by 2030, the largest holders of US treasuries will be stablecoin issuers. Think about that. Right now, it's other countries, China, Japan, and et cetera, right? But stablecoin issuers will dominate. And I think we're seeing that. If you look at the chart of the amount of the largest treasury holders, Tether is like number 9 or something like that. It's mind-blowing, and that's only going to increase. Circle is going to pop up on that list soon. So it's pretty amazing. Samurai Fist. It says many coins have been diluted. Isn't it more important to look at all-time high in market cap versus price? I'm sure you could do that, but then again, that's been the case for every bull market cycle, and we are seeing more liquidity coming in than has before, right? We're in the cusp, or we're in the timeline of mass adoption. So you didn't have BlackRock before, you didn't have stock exchanges before. So I still think that because of the amount of liquidity is coming in, and then you think about these coins are globally distributed, so it's not just a US market. Like, for example, there's certain stocks that people in India or China can't access. They simply cannot access it on the New York Stock Exchange. But with crypto, they can, right? Because all you need is a mobile phone and an internet connection. So I get what you're saying. Some coins have, released massive unlocks. I get it. But then on the flip side of the coin is that the amount of liquidity that's going to come in and drive these prices higher. So I do think, yes, you can look at the market cap because some will not perform as well because they become diluted. But then again, depends on the narrative, depends on the amount of liquidity. Will there be an ETF, right? These are things to think about. Ben says, Tony, what do you think of holding a pot of XRP, Solana, HBAR, and VeChain for long term? So Ben, nothing wrong with that. I'm personally just going to hold Bitcoin, some Bitcoin long term. I believe because the market moves to Bitcoin, Bitcoin will typically, as we've seen historically with the bull markets, Bitcoin holds more of its value even in the bear market than the alts. The alts bleed out. So what I know about the liquidity flow and how market makers work, I'm liquidating all my altcoins and as I've said many times, taking some of the profits, buying the blood on the streets again when people are scared, they're running away, they're crying, right? Oh no, that blah blah blah. Just like I did in 2022, I'm going to buy 2027 and ride it up again, 2028 to 2030 bull market. But Ben, to your point, if you got some of these coins very low, it may not be a bad idea to hold some for the long term. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. It all depends on your financial situation. Do you need to liquidate all your coins to get as much profits back, or you just liquidate some of it, right? It depends on your financial situation. Now, I have certain financial goals and things I want to do: pay off debt, add more money to my retirement, spend some, of course, right? I want to go buy some things, upgrade lifestyle. But like I said, there's Bitcoin because it's so scarce. I'm not selling some of it. I'm not selling and leaving it for my daughter. Vadim says, can you please speak to ZBCN and what you see happening next? So is this Zebec? I've been hearing a ton of people asking me about Zebec. I don't know much about Zebec. I'm going to be honest. Yeah, ZBCN, right? ZBC is migrating to ZB. So it's been rallying. It looks like it got migrated as far as the ticker symbol. Let's see here. Decentralized infrastructure network for real world value flows, founded in 2021. It got investments in Circle, Coinbase, Solana Ventures, and so forth. Yeah, like I said, I don't know about this project. I don't hold a token. It looks like it's doing well, since it's been migrated. But let's see how the previous chart looked. If there's even a chart, looks like there's not a chart here. Looks like a coin that could do well. It looks like it has a narrative, people getting bullish on it, but don't know. Let's see if there's an actual chart on here. Man, my keyboard does not want to work today. This is ridiculous. Unbelievable. Jeez. Okay. That is annoying. Okay, let's get out of that. Okay, I'm gonna have to use my, okay. Let's see. Okay, so I'm trying to find them. This thing was launched in 2021. Let's see, what's the oldest chart? 2024 is the furthest back I can go here. Okay, this is not a chart's not updated. I'm trying to find the best chart that gives the most history so you can kind of get an idea of what's happening. So, all right, so it looks like all of them are pointing to just 2024, maybe because of the change in the ticker symbol. Okay, so if we're just looking at the chart, right, on the daily, this thing rallied in recently, May, right? It had a big rally up to this price one here, right? 0.004 cents. You notice though, when we use the RSI, the RSI is in the overbought zone, super overbought. This is just the data now, right? So it had a massive rally if you look at the percentage gains, and now the RSI is correcting. So you notice on the MACD, let me move you out of the way actually so people can see this. Notice on the MACD here, it flipped from green to red and the RSI is dumping. That's a healthy pullback. So the good thing is it's showing the strength. I don't know if it will continue, if it will bounce once it hits the oversold zone and keep going higher. It's possible, but I would need to hear what's the narrative, who's building, are the VCs behind it, yada yada, right? So, but nice rally, healthy correction happening here. So some people may panic, oh no, it's crashing. Well, yeah, it got overheated. There's no way it could keep going higher. I mean, it was super overbought here. The RSI was like over 90. So remember, anything 70 and above is overbought. Anything 30 and below is oversold. So just keep that in mind. No problem, Ben. Let's see. Zach B says, do you think MicroStrategy will be the Enron of this bull market? Zach, I think you probably know I have a lot of thoughts about this. I'm concerned about the amount of leverage Saylor is using. He's offering new stock products and stuff like that to raise capital to buy Bitcoin. He's kind of forming a bubble on his own, right? The amount of leverage is extreme. We've seen this in TradFi. When you have that much leverage, it's a house of cards. Eventually, it just takes one little thing, chink in the armor, to throw it all off. And I hope that doesn't happen. But what you're seeing is that many other companies are following Saylor's model of raising debt. And it looks like it's creating some sort of bubble. Again, I don't want anything bad to happen. I'm not wishing for something bad to happen. But it's looking really rough out there. It's looking really dangerous. And I hope, it doesn't collapse. Excuse me. I hope it doesn't collapse, because that will cause a lot of problems for the market. But this is where, my friends, I repeat, have your profit-taking plan so that you walk away from this bull market. So if some sort of massive crash happens, some sort of implosion, maybe it's MicroStrategy and all their debt and all that bubble they created with all the debt, you walked away from the bull market with money in your pocket, you're not affected. In fact, you probably might be cheering for the prices to go down, because then you can buy the bloody bear market again. So hopefully, Zach, it doesn't happen like an Enron thing, but it's possible. Freddie says, is something being announced in the States or something? Not that I know of, Freddie, but we've seen states they have been approving Bitcoin ETFs, Bitcoin reserves. Folks, hit that thumbs up button, hit the heart button, hit the like button. Be sure to check out our sponsors. Uphold, great place to buy, sell, and stake crypto. Check out Trezor. They make beautiful hardware wallets that make it easy for you to safely store your crypto. I'm a big proponent of self-custody. Their hardware wallets are open source. They support all the top coins. Use the code ThinkingCrypto, all one word, to get 5% off. Check out Proppy, leading the charge with putting real estate on chain. I am a Proppy token holder. I have been for many years. I'm bullish on this project because they're disrupting the largest asset class, which is real estate. And VeChain, one of the top layer 1 enterprise blockchain, getting massive adoption from big brands and companies globally. They're partnered with Dana White in the UFC, BMW, Walmart, China, Boston Consulting Group, all building on VeChain. All the links will be in the description. Check out my free email newsletter, 100% free. Check out my book on Amazon and my course at mycryptocourse.com. Expand your crypto knowledge, folks. So be sure to check all of those things. So like I said, folks, all eyes on Bitcoin. Hopefully this rally keeps going. And once again, Bitcoin will hit that overbought zone. Altcoins will wake up. And that could be our final blow off top or local top. That I'm not sure about yet. I will be looking at what other analysts and traders are saying. I'll be looking at different metrics to see what happens next. Zed says, if there is crypto regulation, do you think that the 4-year cycles will be over and it will be just like the stock market? Zed, I think eventually that could happen. I don't think we're there yet. And remember that unlike the stock market, many of these tokens are hard cap. You can't keep creating, you can't do a stock split or something like that. and there's not as much liquidity in the market yet. And you look at coins like Bitcoin and even XRP, hard cap, right? Only 100 billion XRP, and not even the full max supply is in the market. Same thing with Bitcoin, only 21 million, but not all of it has been mined yet, and some has been lost. Same thing with XRP and other coins. Some have been lost. People have just lost them, lost their keys, much more. So the supply and the supply and demand dynamic is very different from the stock market, if you know what I mean. So do I think over time, if we're talking 10, 15 years from now, yeah, with the amount of liquidity that's coming in, you're not going to see the same type of upside, but you're going to see maybe the slow, steady growth that we're seeing with the stock market, right? You're still making gains in the stock market, but it can't compare to Bitcoin and crypto. As Paul Tudor Jones said, Bitcoin and crypto are the fastest horse in the race. Now, this is something I forgot to mention earlier to you guys of why we are still in the bull market. You're also seeing the stock market V-shaped recovery. If you're looking for a V-shaped recovery example, look at this, right? So a lot of different metrics and signals showing we're still in the bull market. Look at the Nasdaq as well, V-shaped recovery. So there it is, folks. The signals are there. Even the DXY, look at that. Massive weakness, right? And we know the inverse correlation. DXY is crashing, assets are rallying. DXY pumping, assets are crashing. So all the signs are there of a bull market, but I do believe this is the year of the blow up top. Eki, if I'm saying that right, do you think there is an order with coin pump first, example, RWA AI memes? So great question. As we were talking about before, there's a rotation of liquidity into the altcoins. Obviously, we saw AI do really well at the beginning of 2024, and I made some money off of Fetch and Render. Those were ripping, right? If many of you recall. And then RWAs, I don't recall how well they were pumping, or if they had their phase, or they were just moving with the general market. But then memes took over to my annoyance. You guys know I don't hold meme coins. I'm not really a fan of meme coins, but if you want to put your money in there, then it's a free country, free market, right? I don't believe in stopping people from investing, because you can go to the casino, you can play the lottery. But I would recommend, my suggestion would be, don't put your money in this stuff, right? But to your question though, Eki, it's TBD, because we've seen the different cycles, and my hope is that memes calm down. I think they will still pump, but they don't steal the show like they stole the show in Q4, if you know what I'm saying. And maybe RWA starts moving and AI starts moving again, but we'll have to wait and see. It's really hard to predict those things, because the market makers are the ones in control many times, and if there's a strong narrative around some of these sectors, they can do really well. Yeah, no problem with them. Happy to help. Crypto Chevy says, Genius Act should be opening of the floodgates for liquidity. Can't wait on and off ramp. Yeah, it's a big one, because if you allow all these companies to create stablecoins, and stablecoins settle instantly, and you can move it instantly and 24/7, right? You don't have to wait for the bank. You don't have to wait for any settlement. It will allow for more of that to go into the crypto market. Not all of it, obviously, but more of it to go into crypto market. Zach B says, I'm also concerned about using IBIT as collateral. So are you talking about the JP Morgan news where they're going to issue loans against Bitcoin ETFs? Because, yeah, I mean, that could be risky. But then again, it's the big banks, and they are super insured. They have all the risk mitigation in place. So I'm not really concerned about that. If it's a crypto native startup, I would be more concerned, because we've seen a lot of these crypto startups don't have all the knowledge that TradFi does, right? And they haven't gone through those growing pains to learn some of these things. So we'll see. No problem, G. Ariel, great to have you from Panama. Wow. Awesome, man. Thank you for tuning in. Freddie says, regulation will kill the way liquidity flows. Like we say, 99% of tokens will disappear. I think this will be the last cycle of the scam token and memes. Yeah, Freddie, I don't disagree with you there. I think that's plausible. I think that's a good thesis, because to your point, one could argue it's been the wild, wild west, right? Since Bitcoin was created in 2009. And then, the 2013, 2014 bull market, the 2017 bull market, 2020, and now 2024, 2025, and we're at the cusp of crypto legislation. A lot of stuff could get weeded out. Absolutely. You know, the different regulatory agencies, SEC, CFTC, can drop the hammer on some of these things. But we'll see. What's interesting, though, there could still be the possibility of some of these tokens still existing, because remember, this is a global asset class. The SEC can't control what people do in Australia and other countries. Now, do I believe those other countries will follow the United States and set up their own similar legislation? Yes, but I think there's going to be a gap, and there could still be a lot of this crap coins, being created outside the United States. Now, to your point, will they be accessible in the United States? Probably not, right? But we'll have to wait and see. And it'll be interesting. So this is why, folks, have a profit-taking plan so that you're walking away from this market with money in your pocket. Let's see here. Immortal88 says, Bitcoin has been a great investment. It's still maybe, but the ROI just isn't there, diminishing marginal return. Yeah, Immortal, you're right, but you got to give the full context to that, because Bitcoin is more of a, I don't want to use the word guarantee, but I would say has the higher probability of making the gains versus certain altcoins. Now, if we're talking the top altcoins in the top 20, I would say, okay, yeah, some XRP is going to outperform Bitcoin. Solana is going to outperform Bitcoin, so on and so forth. But when you start going down to altcoin number 100 or whatever, there's no guarantee that altcoin moves. And that's why you want to use Bitcoin, in my opinion, as a foundational asset. It's like building a house. Let Bitcoin, have some Bitcoin, just to be that steady asset in your portfolio that is, once again, not guaranteed, but has the higher probability of making a return versus altcoin number 1,000. And then once again, give the context, right? Because I'm not talking about XRP and the ones in the top 20, which have huge visibility, which are proven, or like HBAR, which are proven. I'm talking about random altcoin number 908, right? So that's not guaranteed, and that is very risky. That is going far out on the risk curve. So don't disagree with you, but there's a other side to, there's more to that story. Well, Mark, yeah, but here's the thing. Trump is only going to be president for another, 4 years? And then he's going to be gone. So in the long term, there's going to be different people coming in. We know how the political cycle works. So Trump may get away with it now, but, in the future, it may not be something they can do, but we'll see. G says, the hype around pre-sales shows that to be true, leaves people vulnerable to scams and rug pulls. Yeah, and look, there's nothing wrong with, trying, if you want to go risky, right? Let's say you divide your portfolio. You're 70% conservative. I'm taking Bitcoin, the top altcoins, XRP, Solana, yada, yada. And I'm going to take 5% or 10% of my portfolio, and I'm going to go put it in this risky stuff. That's something you can do. I personally don't, but that's something you can do, but you at least are not putting the majority of your portfolio. The problem, though, G, like you're saying, a lot of people go 100% into these risky things because they want the quick buck. They want the quick return. Unfortunately, that sets you up to be rug pulled and to be scammed. And you got to be patient. You got to really put the work in here. I'm not saying this has to be your job or you have to study this 24/7. Obviously not. But you got to keep up with what's happening. Look at things like what I'm showing you guys, DXY, the charts, right? The on-chain data, the macro, global liquidity, all these things, right? What is the stock market doing in parallel with crypto, to get an idea where we're at. And look at the tokens that you want to invest in, who's involved. Can you readily identify the people on LinkedIn who are building? Are they getting partnerships, real world adoption, and all that? Axel said the Trump coin thing has really screwed up the optics of crypto overall. Yeah, I agree with you. Again, I'm happy President Trump is pro crypto. I absolutely prefer that than what took place with Biden and Gensler. But Trump kind of gave us a double-edged sword because he was super pro crypto, much more favorable environment. He's pushing for regulations, but then he launches his meme coin. And I'm like, come on, bro. Right? That's just a bad look. I don't believe any president should have that. It stole liquidity from the market. Even if you love Trump, you're the biggest Trump supporter, you got to admit that it stole liquidity from the market. And I don't think that's a good thing. And hopefully he doesn't keep pushing it. Hopefully he distances himself from it. He doesn't mention it, but we'll see. Yeah, Janet Jung, absolutely. As with investing, there's risk. Not everything will be a winner, but this is where you want to make sure you do your homework, right? Is this project legit? Does it look like it's doing some sort of scam stuff? So Luna, and I'm not saying I'm perfect or anything, or I get everything right, but I didn't invest in Luna because it looked fishy. It looked the way they were doing things, and then with their stablecoin and all that, it looked really fishy. So yeah, for sure. And look, Trump's coin gives ammo to the people who are anti-crypto and who were still on the fence about crypto. Maybe they were neutral, but when they see something like this, they're like, wait a minute, Trump has a meme coin? Is he trying to scam people? And in their mind, oh, all of crypto is a scam. Well, right, we know that's not the fact. So this is the problem. It creates bad optics, man. So I wish he didn't do that, but what are you going to do? But I do my best to educate people. You know, when they ask me, hey, what's up with Trump coin? I say, look, you know, I give the analogy of the 90s with the dot-com boom. I say, in the dot-com boom, there was Google, eBay, Amazon, some amazing companies that many of us use the technology. But there was also shit, right? There was also crap that companies that raising millions of dollars did not have one penny of revenue, did not have a revenue model, and they were buying tons of commercials and advertising. I think pets.com was one of them, right? Not making anything, but doing a lot of advertising, and a lot of those got wiped out. Massive collapse, right? But the ones that were solving up a real problem, they were doing great things, they made it out. Same thing's going to happen here. So meme coins, expect those to be wiped out. There could be some that, you know, they have a resurgence, but they're very speculative. So when the liquidity dries up, you see what happens with them. They collapse. Ice Phoenix, thank you so much for the $10 AED donation. I appreciate that. He says, hey, Tony, what do you think of Render and Sui? So I hold both Render and Sui. I was talking earlier that Fetch and Render, you know, did really well at the beginning of 2024. And I expect them to continue to do well. You know, that's not a guarantee, but I'm hoping that they can do really well. Right now, the AI narrative has cooled down a bit, but you can see Render rallied in the Q4 bull run, right? So it took back a lot of the gains. So that really sucks. But based on its all-time high of 13, 14 bucks, it's not far off from there, right? It's currently at 4. So percentage gain wise, there's not much more room it has to cover to even break the all-time high. So I do believe the AI narrative is still strong. And I do believe it's going to continue to run up. But as we start off the live stream with, everything is waiting for Bitcoin right now. Now for Sui, I am a Sui holder. Sui has been doing really well. It's been outperforming some of the other tokens like Solana and much more. By the way, guys, I'm going to wrap up in like 5 minutes because it's been over an hour, but let's pull up a Sui chart here. So Sui, I believe, has room for upside. Again, I'm a token holder, and I believe it will do well. And there's a lot of VC narrative behind this thing. So Ice Phoenix, I'm bullish on both. And let's see if we do a Fibonacci setup here on this. You know, could it run up? Actually, wait, let me see. Let's do. Yeah, could it run up to you're $6-7. I think so. I think this is just such a strong narrative. Now, that's not a guarantee. I don't have a crystal ball, but based on all the things I've been seeing and why I added it to my portfolio. Yeah, for sure, Freddie. Agree with you there. Yeah, Axel. So that's the thing, right? It's better than Gensler being attacked, and it's crazy. But guys, here's the thing: the Gensler situation really sucked. But at the end of the day, what moves markets is global liquidity. That's why under Biden, despite Biden being anti-crypto, well, not so much Biden as it was Elizabeth Warren, despite Biden being anti-crypto, why did assets rise? Why did they keep going higher? Because global liquidity drives everything. Stock market, crypto, precious metals, real estate. That's why you see real estate prices surging, right? My keyboard is freaking out over here. That's why you see gold was ripping. It's all correlated to global liquidity. And so you may say, well, Tony, why don't we just invest in real estate or stocks? Well, they don't give you the same type of returns. And real estate itself, you need to do a lot more. There's a ton of stuff involved with real estate maintenance, all types of paperwork, and it's a whole different thing. Not saying it's a bad investment. Don't get me wrong. I have an investment property, so I'm not saying it's bad. But crypto, as Paul Tudor Jones said, is the fastest horse in the race. Folks, hit that thumbs up button, hit the like button, check out our sponsors, Uphold, Trezor, Propy, VeChain. All the links will be needed in the description. Check out our free email newsletter on Substack, 100% free. Check out my book on Amazon and my course at mycryptocourse.com. So folks, like I said, waiting for Bitcoin to confirm this rally because, it could easily fake us out and go and test 98K. So just be prepared for that scenario. I'm not saying it will happen. I'm not saying I want it to happen. I'm just saying as educated investors, we got to be prepared for different scenarios. I do believe, once again, we're still in the macro bull market based on the data. And Bitcoin will come out of here pretty soon, but it could retest some lows before doing that, or it could just keep going up like we're seeing here, and altcoins will follow. So be patient, folks. We're going to get there. All right, everybody. I'm going to wrap it up because it's been over an hour. Thank you for tuning in and watching. I appreciate you all. I'm wishing you all the best of luck in this bull market, that you make amazing returns. Make sure that you have your profit-taking plan. We've seen the markets rip very fast. It could run up in 2 months, and then that could be it, right? We'll have to keep watching the chart to see if this move leads to the blow-off top or just a local top, and then the ultimate blow-off top comes later this year. We're going to have to watch these things closely, like global liquidity and much more. So, folks, I'll catch you in the next one. Thank you so much.